Welcome back to the library. Tell me, have you ever had a sleepless night? No matter how much you toss and turn, you just can't seem to drift away? Well, settle down tonight for some terrifying tales about just how scary a sleepless night can be. There's a fox outside. I can hear it, rooting away through the rubbish someone has carefully left outside their home. It sniffs around, its wet nose twitching like the large vein in my old boss's head whenever one of us screwed up an order or miscounted the stock. It calls out into the night, a shriek of victory perhaps, or maybe calling more of its kind to come and see the resplendent feast it has found. Before long I can hear teeth ripping the black liners apart and tearing at the soft contents within. The sound is wet, chewy. I raise myself from the bed and cross to the window. The street outside appears empty, the foxes apparently enjoying their feast out of view. A cold breeze waltzes in through the open window, chill December air filling the room, yet I do not feel it. My skin is on fire, my body temperature creeping dangerously high. Rivulets of sweat run down my forehead, spread out from my armpits, and trace a path down the ravine of my spine. I have long since removed all of my clothes in an effort to get cool. It hasn't worked. Still, the fever refuses to leave me. I have lost count now of how long it has held me prisoner in its suffocating grip. I haven't slept in days, that much I know. I think it must have been at least 6 days since I was last able to lose consciousness. On the beige-coloured walls I started marking the days with a red wax crayon, drawing thick, dark gashes into the wall. I must have become delirious at some point, though, for there are currently 13 of the solid marks on the wall. 13 days without sleep. That cannot possibly be correct. The human body simply could not stay awake for that amount of time. Your brain would find a way to put you to sleep, to sink you into oblivion whilst your body conducted much-needed repairs. To stay awake that long would drive anybody mad. There's no way I've been awake for that length of time. I hate not being able to sleep. I find myself losing all sense of time. Hours fly by in seconds. Seconds stretch on for hours. I look to the wall again. 16 solid red marks now. I don't remember making them. The red crayon lies beneath, broken in half. At some point in the night, the walls start to bleed. Runnels of red dripping from the ceiling and down the boring beige walls. I will need to inform the landlord, I note to myself. He will have to send a repairman. The fox is outside the window now. He's somehow climbed up to the first-floor balcony and stares at me through the window. He's quite large for a fox, mangy too. His fur is matted and huge tufts of it are missing. He watches me with an unnaturally calm gaze, never blinking or turning away. He doesn't move at all, save for the slow and steady flow of drool from his snout. Something about him unsettles me. The banging started next, all across the ceiling above my head, like the footsteps of 50 young girls attempting to ballet dance, leaping across the floor above me as they practice their routines. The fox only drools more. I lost the crayon. Can't find it anywhere. I need some other way to track the days. I smashed the glass picture frame that contains the photo of my family and began using a shard to cut the marks into my left arm. I soon come to relish the pain. Keeps me grounded. Still, keeping track of time has become hard. The chances of falling asleep have vanished completely between the boiling fever and the tiny ballet dancers in my roof. I look down at my arm. 18 marks are carved there. 18 days without sleep. I begin to laugh. That can't be right. 18 days without sleep would drive a man crazy, the fox says, grinning at me. Of course, he's completely right. How could I have thought of something so crazy? At first it was nothing more than a slightly disturbing dream, but rapidly the dreams became nightmares, mostly because the content grew more realistic and scary. Waking up each morning, I had to think where I was, who I was, before working out whether I had actually woken up, or was this an alternate life I was leading. At first I kept a notepad beside my bed, but often there were ripped out pages and illegible scribble. So I tried recording my thoughts, but that was even more scary because I couldn't make sense in the morning of what I had been saying, shouting, screaming during the night. What scared me most was the apparent violence in both what I had screamed and the wrecked bedroom in the morning. Friends stopped calling. People moved away, and even delivery men refused to call. Taxi companies and takeaway food establishments refused me. Even the refuse piles stopped being collected, and my sorties into the outside world ceased, apart from the odd shopping trip for food and a newspaper. And that was how I discovered the problem. There it was, on page 27 of the paper, my obituary. But it was an old paper, one that had obviously not been collected by the refuse team. In fact, it was more than 2 years old. Slowly I read about myself. I had been a thoroughly nasty, selfish and arrogant person. A bully, a thug, and completely intolerant of others. Worse than that, I had been in an induced coma for nearly 3 years before my death, following a particularly nasty fight with a friend who had refused to take me somewhere I had demanded to go without any consideration for others, Magaluf. We'd only got as far as Palma Airport, and he had planned to visit friends in Alcudia at the opposite end of the island. We fought at the airport taxi rank, and he won. He went to Alcudia, and I went into Palma Hospital, and have never slept since. Apparently I died about 3 years later in King's London, my return ticket still unused. If you asked me why I was making the fence, I guess I don't know. It just seemed right. After the first week, with only the crows for company, Dad would help out whenever he was done with the day's work. Other times, the girls over at the next farm would help out. Things are much better now than before. It's not just the income from all the media attention. Crops are growing all year round. They think it came on the back of a meteorite. Maybe fell off of what they call a near miss, so the scientists say. There was a lot of people coming to poke at it at first, coming to cut at it with all sorts of equipment. They didn't even scratch it. One morning it was just there, one edge cleaving right through my den, an edge that must stretch for a mile or more around its base. The rest of it sticks up, cone-like, with rough sides that make it look like a barnacle. A really big barnacle. I know a mile is a long way to make a fence, but it's nearly done now. Dad says it won't stop the scientists, but what else can I do? It's not harming anyone. They should leave it alone. Sometimes me and the girl would climb up it and sit on top to eat our sandwiches. She don't talk much and never said her name. Don't much care. Dad says I will, one day. You can see for miles from the top. and it's always warm to sit on, just like the ground around it. I don't think it minds. No one knows about what it does. The only thing the barnacle does, set me and the girl. Sometimes it'll do some poking of its own. You'll get the one orange tree-like thing that'll come poking out of its top to unfold like branches. Then it just gently sways there, casting a shadow across the whole valley for a half hour, like it's waving. Who is it waving to? If it's even waving at all. Well, that brings us to the end of tonight's episode. Now run away, children. Run away back to your beds and get some sleep, if you can. I'll see you next time in the library. If you dare.